Hello. Okay, so you're all ready to start. Before we get started, a couple quick announcements, three actually. One is that if you have access to yoga blocks or the seat of a chair or anything that can help to raise the floor up a little bit for your hand, we'll be using those. I have a strap here. I don't know how much we'll use it, but if you have access to anything that can work as a strap, you can have that handy. Number two, we're going to be doing Surya Namaskar as we go through. We'll just run through it twice, but one thing that is a little different than what I typically present, I usually present what is called a chaturanga, which is 4 limbs, and you bring the elbows in close, keep the body straight like a plank. However, with this version of Surya Namaskar, we're going to instead be using Ashtanga Namaskar. And so your setup is similar as if you're going into plank. Well, you're going to be starting from some sort of plank, either knees down or knees up. So those hands nice, fingers nice and wide, hands planted down. And then either with the knees down and the body in a straight line like a plank, or knees up. What's going to happen is you're going to keep your seat high and then drop the knees, chest, and chin to touch the floor. So it's a back extension as well, opening up the heart. Now, obviously for some folks, this shape won't be super accessible depending on the day because of that back extension. If that's the case for you, then instead doing a knees down plank and then just lowering the entire torso to the floor is a different variation that may be a better fit for today. Or stay in tabletop. And then when we come into what will happen next is either a cobra or an upward facing dog. And then from there, you can just take it into cow and then angry cat, or tuck your toes and do downward facing dog. And then announcement number 3. Our sequence this session is focused on gratitude. And so we will be working through there are different limbs or practices within the entire umbrella of what is called yoga. And there's multiple different versions and varieties of that. And 2 of those limbs that are pretty well known are called the yam and the niyam. And we'll be working through some of those different, they're called personal restraints or characteristics and social interactions or constraints. And so we'll be talking about some of those and how they connect with your gratitude practices. And along with that, we'll be talking about how we can access gratitude sometimes through the idea of, let's say, love and joy, feeling those emotions and how we can shift that to frame into our gratitude and thankfulness and appreciation practices. So a couple of the things to remember with that, just real briefly, is gratitude is both an emotion and an action. It's something you can feel and you can show. And so that makes it a little unique in some ways. And the more we feel it, the more we typically are inclined to want to show it. And the more we show it, it's a cycle. The more we feel it and the more it comes back in a cycle to us. So it's setting those intentions each week as we move through these practices. We'll be working a lot on grounding, so connecting to the earth and how working with that concept is helpful with especially our gratitude towards nature. And we will also be looking at how to open up our heart, both physically and then also emotionally. So thinking about how we can do some chest openers, some upper back openers, lengthening the neck, those types of things to create more space around where we hold that emotional heart. All right, so with all of that, I'm going to invite you to come to any comfortable seated position that works for you. If a seated position on the floor is not a good fit today, you can use a chair, or you can lie down, belly, back, side, or if you want to come to a stand or even kneeling, any of those are an option. So you pick what's going to fit for you today. And once you settle in, if you're in a seated position or any other position where it makes sense, I'm going to invite you to take the Gayan Mudra, which is touching the tip of the index finger, tip of the thumb together to make a circle, I'm trying to show on the screen, as well as extending the other 3 fingers long, and then the backs of the palms rest on the tops of the thighs, with the upper arms relaxed and open, shoulder blades melting down towards the back waist. Lifting the sternum, the breastbone up towards the chin, but keeping the chin parallel to the floor, and maybe just a little bit of engagement to not really bring too much of an extension or sway back in, but keeping the spine long and still. And then if you choose to close your eyes, go ahead and do so now. Otherwise, drop your gaze to something that's not moving. And using this Gayan Mudra to help activate that third eye center, our intuitive wisdom, our mindfulness center. Notice the sensation of the finger and the thumb touching each other. Perhaps it's even noticeable that you feel a little bit of heat or sensation further touching. If not, that's fine. And you can notice what you might be sensing in your physical body or your emotions or both. Areas of tightness, areas of looseness, both emotionally and physically. Bringing your attention to your mind. Just noticing the quality and the quantity of the thoughts, not necessarily needing to change or shift or modify it. Just noticing. Exhaling to prepare. Now take a lengthened inhale. Lengthening it out, deepening the breath all the way to the depths of the lungs. And then if you choose, either an open mouth or closed mouth sigh. Notice if you can release just a little bit of anything that was tight, tension, restricting, chaotic. Let it go. Doing that again, taking an exhale to prepare. A length and deep and reflective inhale. And then exhale to release. Whatever it is that you need to release. We're going to keep that lengthened breath flowing in and out. So thinking about 3-part breath, which is called Dirga Pranayam. Your inhale coming in and filling all the way to the bottom of the lungs. So expanding those bottom ribs out. The middle of the chest, the side ribs expanding out, the middle of the back, upper back, all the way up to the collarbones. And then on the exhale, all of that releases, collarbones lower, side ribs knit back together, bottom ribs lower, and then do it again. And notice maybe if it's a 4 count, 6 count, 8 count, whatever feels like the right capacity on your inhale. And match that with your exhale. We're going to add one more step to this. Keeping that 3-part breath going. So you're inhaling maybe 4 counts, 6 counts, 8 counts, whatever feels right for you. And then as you finish the inhale, we're going to hold. Just pause. Maybe it's a half a second before you move into the exhale, allowing the exhale to be the same count as the inhale. So you can continue at your pace, your capacity, and notice as you start to build a rhythm, if perhaps maybe that little pause at the top of the inhale, start to lengthen that out. Maybe it becomes a 1 count. Maybe it's a 2 count today, or maybe today it's just a very brief pause before you allow the exhale to flow out. And do 2 more rounds at your pace. On that exhale, finding those areas where you can soften, release tension. Maybe notice if there's a little crease between the eyebrows that you can release. Any tension in the toes or legs or jaw or tongue. Keep that breath going, but option to release the pause, the breath retention, and now just that 3-part inhale, 3-part exhale, nice and lengthened, nice and relaxed, and we'll keep that Dirga Pranayam flowing throughout the entire practice. Noticing in any of the shapes, if your body's telling you that the 3-part breath isn't accessible, then there is another way to have that shape match your body so the breath can flow. And setting our intention for today, focusing on gratitude for ourselves. Excuse me. So this is a practice of Svadyaya, or self-study, self-awareness, which is one of the 5 niyams, how we interact with ourselves. Using your self-awareness, it might be one thing, you might be able to come up with a list of things today. It might be something you did, it might be something you are. Maybe it's something that you have with someone else. Whatever it is about yourself that increases your self-worth, the value that you feel about yourself, the gratitude and the joy that you can feel when you think about this particular aspect of yourself or about yourself. Bring that to mind. As you think about it, maybe as in much detail as you can, notice if there is any sense of joy, happiness, contentment, when you let your mind and your body completely absorb that aspect of yourself. And then tell yourself thank you for it. Deepen that gratitude. And as many times as possible, if you start to notice your thoughts, your mind, as we go through the practice, start to wander off to anything that isn't serving you, this is the intention that you have now created to come back to along with your breath. Taking that lengthened Dirga Pranayam on the in. Exhale to release the Gayan Mudra and lower the palms next to the hips. Eyes can stay closed or you can have eyes open. Taking an inhale. Exhale, we're going to lower the right ear to the right shoulder. Inhale, reach the left arm up. Extend the fingertips up out of the shoulder socket. Pull the shoulder blade down towards the mid-back and then side bend over to the right. If you have your eyes open, the gaze can come up underneath that upper arm as you look towards the ceiling, perhaps. And then your exhale draws that hand back down as you bring the right hand up to the left side of the head. And then again, encourage the right ear towards the right shoulder as you drop the shoulder. And notice the sensation in the neck, opening up all those spaces. Exhale to release the hand and draw the chin down towards the center of the chest. And then the chin comes up in the ear over to the left shoulder. This time you're going to inhale that right arm, extend it, get that energy up through the fingers, and then exhale, extend the arm long as you look up underneath that right arm and side bend to the left. Inhale, lift up. Right hand comes down, left hand comes up. Gentle, gentle on the right side of the head. Notice the sensation on this side of your neck. Release one more little neck circle to the front, this time drawing the chin up and looking over your right shoulder. And then your inhale extends that right arm out, and you exhale, bringing the, left hand over to the right knee. And it's just a gentle twist to start. Let the breath flow, even in the twists. Inhale to release that, turning all of that now over to the left, gazing over the left shoulder, right hand to the left knee, gentle twist. And exhale to the front. Hands come to the front on an inhale, walking them forward until you feel the appropriate amount of sensation in your low back, your hips, maybe even your legs, upper back, whatever it is for you. When you feel that sticking point where the body says that's far enough, that's where you're going to pause. If you have your blocks handy, you can always raise the floor up if you choose. And then just 2 breaths, lengthened inhale, 3 parts into lengthen exhale in your forward fold. Inhale to push the floor away, walk the torso up, hands come around to the back, fingertips pointing towards the seat. Pull the shoulder blades together, elbows together, and then drop the shoulder blades down, lifting the sternum to the ceiling, maybe the chin to the ceiling, and if you choose, pressing into the palms as you press the shins and the knees down and lift the hips. Any of those variations that I just mentioned, you choose and you stay as you want until you exhale to lower and bring everything back together. Now, whichever leg is on top or in front, you're going to switch them. Recrossing the legs the opposite direction. This time we're going to take that inhale to prepare. Exhale, left ear to left shoulder. Inhale, right arm up, take that side bend. A little bit quicker this time. Inhale, lift up, bring the hand to the knee, and we're going to go right into a twist. A little bit deeper if that feels right. Inhale to release all of that. And then exhale, right ear to right shoulder. Inhale, left arm up. Side bend. Inhale and lift. Exhale, left hand to left, right knee. Take it into the twist. Inhale back to center. This is where the forward fold comes. And notice it may feel very different on this side than it did on the first side, meaning that you may need to come a little bit deeper or you may need to back off a little bit, neither one being right or wrong. Hold for one more full cycle of breath. 3 parts. And then inhale to walk the hands back to the legs. Same thing with bringing the fingertips towards the seat. And then your variation of any type of back extension that feels good on this side. Exhale, lower the seat down. Inhale, bring the hands, arms extended, hands out in front of you, fingertips wide like starfish. And then one finger at a time, make a fist, thumb wraps around, and then inhale to open it up. Exhale, make a fist. Inhale, open it up. Last time, exhale, make a fist, and then rotate the wrists. So about 2 or 3 one direction, and then rotate the other direction. And then inhale the palms together, elbows out wide, shoulders away from the ears. Pull the palms in towards the chest. Press the energy from the base of the palm all the way up through the fingertips, pressing one palm against the other. So really you're trying to just create this opposition between the 2 hands and arms. And then if you like, and it feels right in your wrists, you're going to start to pivot the fingers to point towards you. Notice how that changes the sensation. Inhale, release that. Exhale, pivot the fingers to point away from you, perhaps even moving them. Notice how it feels to try to get them to point down. And then in. Exhale, bring the hands to the shoulders. We're just going to rotate, see if you can touch the elbows together in front of the chest. And then exhale to release down and back. Inhale and up. Exhale and down. Reverse the circle one more time this way. For 3. With the breath. 2. And 1. Nicely done. All right. Shifting the legs around to either side, whatever works best for you. Coming up onto all 4s. Hands beneath the shoulders, nice wide fingertips, spread out, and then knees underneath the hips. Taking an inhale to gently draw the belly button towards the spine. Bring the weight into the left knee, release the right knee, and you're just going to lift the right knee out to the right side. Exhale and down. Inhale and up. Exhale and down. And then last 2. And last 1. And then bring that knee hovered above the ground. This time push the heel up towards the ceiling. Pull the knee down and in. Inhale up. Exhale down and in. 3. And 2. And 1. Hold it up there and rotate the ankle. About 2, 3, one direction. 2, 3 circles the other direction. Extend that leg long, toes pointing down to the ground. Drop the toes so the heel is lifted, and then push your energy out through that heel, pushing the floor away with your hands. Stretching along the calf, gastrocnemius, the soleus, and tendons in the ankle, toes, the bottom of the feet. And then inhale, release. Drop that knee. Float the left knee out to the side first. So your inhale is up, exhale down, up, and 3, 2, and 1, and then kick it up to the ceiling. So heel is up to the ceiling. Try to imagine that pelvis flat like a tray so you could rest a cup on it. So you're not lifting that left hip up in space. Doing 2 more. Pull the knee in. Inhale and lift, and then hold and rotate the ankle. 2 or 3 one direction, 2 or 3 the other direction. And then extend the leg long, toes down, drop them to the floor, heel up, and exhale to push the floor away. Feel the opening, bottom of the feet, ankle, calf. And inhale and come forward. In any way that makes sense to you, we're going to come to a stand at the top of the mat. So just stepping your feet forward or pushing your hands back and then rolling up slowly. coming to a stand at the top of the mat. So this is where we're going to come into that Surya Namaskar that I mentioned at the beginning. I'll offer the variations as we go through the first time, and it'll be a total of 2 cycles through. Standing, feet are about hip-width distance apart, underneath the bony part of the pelvis at the front, and then arms with the hands open to the front. Take an inhale here. Exhale to bring the palms together at heart center. Pranayam. Inhale. Lift the hands up. Little bit of a back bend. And then exhale. Hinge from the hips. Soften the knees. Bring the hands forward. Come into Uttanasana, your forward fold. Knees are bent as much as is appropriate for you. And think about trying to gain some control over the pelvis to bring the sits bones up, which bending the knees can help with that. Hands can be on the shins, on the feet, or on the floor, keeping the spine nice and long. And then inhale, half lift, hands into the shins, extend the spine. Exhale, drop the hands to the floor. You're going to step the right foot all the way to the back. Ashwa Sanchalanasana. This is horse rider pose. So imagining as if you are the rider on the horse, and you're lifting up the belly away from the front thigh. One more breath here. And then you're going to push into the floor with your hands so you can bring that left foot all the way back into Palankasana, your plank pose. And then this is where we're on the exhale going to go right down into your Ashtanga Namaskar. So you can either drop the knees first or all in one unit. Knees and then chest and chin with the seat up. Or remember, like I said, drop the full torso or stay in tabletop. Any of those variations. Your next inhale is any sort of back extension. So that might be cobra. It might be high cobra. It might be upward facing dog. Or it might be cow pose and tabletop. Tucking the toes. Exhale. Lift the hips. Downward facing dog. Ardha Mukha Shavasana. And then we're going to hold here and breathe, alternating maybe side to side, shifting the hips, pressing the heel down. And if downward facing dog does not feel like a fit for you today, you're going to drop your knees and instead you can come into cat-cow. Holding for one more of those lengthened inhales and exhales. Gaze to the hand. You're going to inhale the right foot forward. Back into Ashwa Sanchalanasana, the horse rider pose. Now with this leg forward, you're going to again pull the belly off the leg. Take another inhale, push the floor away, big step forward, exhaling into forward fold, Uttanasana with the left foot. Pushing the feet into the floor, inhale, lift the torso, come to a stand, and exhale, hands at the side. Just one more time through that. Inhaling, hands open. Exhaling, hands at heart center. Inhaling, lift. Back extension, any amount. Exhaling, dive forward, soft knees, Utkasan. Inhale, extend the spine, lengthen it long. Exhale one more time into your forward fold. This time, hands down, you're going to step the left foot back on your exhale. And then inhale into Ashwa Sanchalanasana. Spine is long. Hands are down, push the floor away, step the right foot back, and then in your Palankasana, your plank pose, either knees down or knees up. So if you want to drop them right away, you drop them right away. Take an inhale to prepare. Your exhale is your Ashtanga Namaskar. Either that or drop all the way down or tabletop. Inhale, cobra, high cobra, upward facing dog, or cow pose. And then exhale to tuck the toes, lift the hips, downward facing dog. Hold and breathe. 2, and 3. Gaze comes forward, so does the left foot, stepping the left foot where the left hand was. Your last Ashwasanchalanasana, extend the spine long. Push the floor away with the right foot, step it forward and exhale into your forward fold. Inhale and lift. Hands come up. Exhale and lower Pranayama. From here, you can keep your hands at heart center if you like, or we're going to reach the fingertips around behind, interlace the fingers together, and then pull the knuckles down towards the thighs. Taking an inhale, exhale, bend the knees, hinge from the hips, come back into your forward fold, this time with an arm variation. If it feels right in your body, the hands can come away from the seat. Maybe the hands start to fall forward over the head as the shoulders and the chest start to open. One more breath here. And then exhale. Drop the hands, release them to the floor. You're going to step the left foot back. Let the toes come out at an angle. Heel is down. Inhale. Lift up. You're going to have that bend in your front knee. So we're coming right into Virabhadrasana A, Warrior A. If it helps to bring your hands to your hips and just encourage them towards the front of your mat, fine, but we're not going to force or push anything. Thinking a little bit more about spiraling the inner thigh of that front leg out towards the outer edge of the mat, and the inner thigh of the back leg out towards the back heel. Then pivoting the hips towards the front. Hands can stay on the hips, or inhale, reach the arms up. Again, shoulders away from the ears to help open up the front of that chest. And then exhale, lower the hands around back behind you. We already interlaced our fingers once, so that's what we're going to do again. Pull the shoulders and the knuckles down towards the back, so you're opening up the chest. Inhale. Exhale, hinge from the hips. You're going to start to lower that torso towards the front leg. Maybe it's just partway. Maybe you're dropping that seat down so that the knee and the hips are about parallel to the floor, or the bottom of the front thigh, I should say. And then maybe the front right shoulder comes inside that knee. One more breath here. Hands to the hips. Inhale, push the floor away, come up to a stand, extend that front leg long. Pivot the back toes to point out to the side. Front leg is long and extended. Inhale to reach the arms up to the ceiling. Grasp the right wrist with the left hand and side bend over to the left, sky archer. One more breath here. And then your inhale lifts you. Your left hand is going to circle down and back. Bring it around towards the low back or mid back. On your exhale, bend into the front knee. So your toes and your feet are going to stay about the same orientation that they already were. If you need to adjust them, please do. You're dropping the seat. The tailbone is weighted right down towards the center of the mat, encouraging that front right knee to track over the front middle or baby toes. And then if you want to take it into a side bend and bring the gaze either to the back heel or to the top arm, coming into reverse warrior. This is now where we're going to extend the leg, either grab a block or have that chair in front of your mat. We're going to go into standing balance. So keeping the right leg out in front, block is in the right hand. We're going to just start to kind of hop that left foot forward until you can either keep the toes kickstand down or start to float the toes off. Drop the block or your hand to the chair seat or the block to the floor. Coming into Ardha Chandrasana, half moon balancing pose. Thinking about bringing that left heel to about left hip height, opening the hips to the side. That left hand can stay on the left hip, or you can reach it up to the ceiling. Gaze either down at the floor or gaze up towards your left hand. 3-part breath. And then exhale, drop the left foot to meet the right foot at the top of the mat. Knees are bent. Hands are on the tops of the thighs, elbows on the tops of the thighs, or hands together at heart center as you drop the seat. Tailbone is weighted. Chest is being encouraged to lift with your hands in Anjali Mudra. Hold and breathe. Firing up, warming up the thighs. One more breath here. And then your inhale, you extend the legs. Exhale, big step, wide step with the right foot to the back of your mat, facing the long edge of your mat to the right. Hands are on the hips. Toes are generally pointing straight ahead towards the long edge of the mat, or if it's better for your knees, ankles, hips, or low back, your toes are going to point out to the corners. You figure out what's best for you. Inhale, lengthen the sternum up towards the ceiling, drop the tailbone down. Exhale, hinge from the hips. Pause when you get the torso to about hip height. Notice how it feels. You can, at that point, keep the hands where they are, bring them to the thighs, to the shins, or to the ankles, going slowly, inch by inch, stopping when your body asks you to stop, keeping the spine lengthened and extended. And then eventually, when you hit the deepest part of the pose that your body wants, pausing there, breathe. And then releasing the hands either to a block or the floor. Soften the knees if they're not already. And then start to walk along the long edge of the mat, turning and pivoting the left toes to point to the top edge of the mat. And then from here, hands are inside that front foot. Now, we're going to stay here for a few breaths. So if you want to stay just like this is where you're going to stay. If this is not a fit for you, we're going to adjust in just a moment. But other variations can be dropping that back knee down, toenail side of the foot, or you can drop down to the elbows. If you want to drop to the elbows and you want to use either blocks or pillows or something to bring the floor up to you, do that. If this is not a fit for you at all, another variation may be to make sure you have plenty of padding under that back knee, and then bring the hands up to that front thigh, and then coming forward enough to open up the hip flexor on the back knee as much as is appropriate for you. This will decrease the intensity in how much is happening in the front of that hip flexor. Again, I said we'd be here for a few breaths, so let's do 2 more. Taking an inhale to prepare, your exhale, pushing the floor away, start to shift the hips back and lengthen the front leg, bringing the toes up towards the ceiling. We're going to start again with that lengthened spine. Now here's a good place that if you would like, you can use the blocks again to bring that floor up so that you can bring the spine a little bit more length to the spine, especially if the hamstrings, hip, or low back are asking for it. And always bend the knee if that makes the pose fit better for you. And then coming to whichever variation and holding and breathing of Ardha Hanumanasana, half splits. If you've lost it, bring your focus back to the 3-part Dirga Pranayam. And this might be a good place also to remind yourself of your intention, of your value, of your worth, what you are grateful for yourself. Taking an inhale, shift the hips forward, drop that back, or drop the front foot down to the floor. Now, we're going to start to tuck the back toes into the mat so you can kind of hop that back foot forward a little bit. Using the left hand, reach around and grab the front of that right heel. Now, it might be something with the toes, just kickstand kind of crossed behind the left leg. That's one option with the right hand down. Or you might start to float the foot up. That's another option. Or pushing the foot into the hand into the foot, allowing that energy to start to pull your torso up and reach the right arm forward, gazing at any point in front of you, maybe 6 to 8 feet out there that's not moving, or up to where the wall meets the ceiling. And then bring your attention to your breath. The breath matters here. Exhale, right hand comes down, release the right foot, and then just swing it around and Vrikshasana, tree pose. That might be toes down with the heel kickstand against the ankle, or inside the calf, or right foot inside the left thigh. Again, your drishti, your gaze point, helping to settle your mind will help your balance. And keeping that deep and lengthened 3-part breath helps to keep your center of gravity lower, which will help with your balance. Hands can stay in the Anjali Mudra at your hips or reach your branches out as you feel the left foot stay grounded and secure on the foundation of the earth. Exhale, hands back together, release the right foot, and come to a stand at the top of the mat. Down. Take a breath, notice how one side feels different than the other side, or if it does. Inhale, the eyes open. Bring the hands around in front, interlace the fingers together in front of you, flip the palms away, and then inhale, reach the palms up towards the ceiling, gaze at the hands if that's good for your neck. Soften the knees, exhale to hinge the hips back, coming into your Uttanasana, your forward fold, with the hands now facing the floor. Perhaps they're at shin or ankle height, perhaps they're touching the floor. One does not matter, it's not better than the other, but you're pulling the shoulder blades apart, and then let that chin tuck towards the chest. Inhale to release the hands into half lift, Ardha Uttanasana. Soften the knees, exhale, hands down. You're gonna step the right foot back, lower that ankle, lower that heel, toes out to the side as you inhale, and lift up, bending into your front knee again, right into Virabhadrasana A. So we already know a lot of those cues that we did on the first side. Again, adjusting the angle of the ankle, the distance between the feet, maybe noticing if you try to drop the seat down towards the center, if that foot needs to inch forward a little bit to keep that knee angle more at a 90. Hands can be on the hips, or you can inhale, reach the arms to the ceiling. Back to the breath. Exhale to release the arms. This time you're going to bring those hands around behind you, and you're going to interlace the fingers in the way that feels awkward, the way that you typically wouldn't do if your body just was naturally going to interlace the fingers. Inhale, a little bit of a back bend. Exhale, hinge from the hips. Coming down any amount. Again, that might be part way, that might be all the way, that might be shoulder inside the front knee. Does not matter. It just matters what sensation your body is feeling, and are you able to return to your breath? Are you able to feel gratitude for yourself? Inhale to release the hands to the hips, extend that front leg, lift the torso, all at one time. Back toes are going to point out to the edge, side edge of the mat. Front leg stays lengthened. Maybe bring those toes more towards the center of the mat. Hips facing the long edge of the mat as you inhale the arms up to the sky. Reach for that left wrist with your right hand and side bend over to the right. Think about all of the spaces between your armpit and the top of the hip, all of those intercostal muscles between the ribs, and breathe as you open them up. Inhale and lift. Exhale to swing that right hand around towards the low back as you start to bend into the front knee, coming into that reverse warrior. So you're dropping the tailbone, weighting the tailbone right down towards the center. Spiraling the inner thighs away from each other. And then if it feels right, side bending towards that back heel and gaze either looking at the back ankle or up towards the top hand. One more breath here. Inhale, release all that. Grab your block or make sure your chair is in front of you. You're going to start to toe heel that back leg in until you feel like you have good leverage to start to reach that block out in front of you or hand down to the chair seat so that you have that support as you come into Ardha Chandrasana, balancing half moon. This time, hips open to the right, chest opens to the right. Right heel is generally about right hip height or stays kickstand down on the ground or anywhere in between. Right hand comes up to the sky, trying to stack right wrist over right shoulder over left shoulder over left wrist. One more breath. Exhale, step the feet together, bend the knees, hands on the knees, or elbows on the knees as you drop the seat, or hands together at heart center. And breathe. Weighted tailbone, 3-part breath, lifting the sternum, pulling the bottom front ribs down to the top of the pelvis as the shoulders move away from the ears. One more breath. Inhale, extend up. Exhale, left foot steps to the back. Open yourself to the long edge of the mat facing the left. This time, you're going to, again, interlace the fingers in the way that feels awkward. Flip the palms away from you. Drop the tailbone heavy and weighted towards the floor, rounding the shoulders, pressing the open palms away from you. Take an inhale here. Exhale fully. And then inhale, release the rounded back. Soften the knees just a titch as you shift the hips back behind you. Start to reach those hands forward and long. Pausing again when you get the torso about hip height. And then as it feels right for you, lowering the hands, maybe to a block or a chair, maybe to the floor, maybe anywhere in between. And on toes, again, either straight out to the, with the outer edges of the feet parallel to the short edge of the mat, or toes pointed out. Knees bent as much as you need to, eventually letting the torso cascade forward. And in lift. Exhale, release the hands. You're going to now start to bend into that front knee, pivoting the toes to point forward, walking the hands inside that front foot. Again, all the same variations on this side. So if this is not a fit for you, you're going to drop that back knee back, down to the ground. Come up, and then you just decide where the intensity is appropriate for you on that front left thigh, with the knee being padded as much as is needed. Or hands down, elbows down. In either of those variations, you can have the back knee down or the toes tucked into the back. Take another inhale here. And extended exhale. Do it one more time. Inhale. And fully exhale. This time, hands come back. You're going to start to lengthen out that front leg as you shift the hips back. Toes come up to the ceiling. Pulling the right hip back in space so that the left and right hip points are about parallel. And then from there, either with the blocks as a support on either side, or hands to the floor, or hands maybe to the thigh, avoiding the front knee. Feeling the sensation of opening up the hamstring, the back of the front. Inhale to lower the foot to the floor. This is again where that tricky transition comes into play for the balancing pose. So you're going to lift that back knee off the ground and then just start to walk the back foot in little by little. And then eventually the toes land on the outside of the right foot. Right hand can grasp the front of the ankle. You can hang out right here. Or perhaps you lift the foot. Or perhaps you shift so that you're pushing the ankle into the hand into the ankle, coming up into twisted dancer pose. Reaching out in front of you, opening up that right shoulder, opening up the chest. One more breath. And then the exhale releases all of that. You can kickstand the toes down to drop the ankle drop the heel into the ankle, or foot into the calf, or bringing it up to the inner thigh. If you're in the inner thigh, push the inner thigh into the foot, not the foot into the inner thigh. So you're wanting the right hip to move more towards midline. Hands on the waist, maybe together at the heart center, or open up your branches as you let the breath flow to keep your balance steady. At the same time, feel the ground supporting you. Exhale to drop the foot. Inhale the hands up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, half lift and extend. Exhale, soften the knees, bring the hands to the mat, come to the tiptoes, and then either swinging the legs around to the side or dropping your seat back or arms around, any way that makes sense for you to come down to a seat. Going to keep the feet on the floor, knees up to the ceiling, hands behind the thighs, and then sternum reaches for the knees as the bottom front ribs pull down to the top of the pelvis, shoulder blades melt down towards the back waist. Take an inhale here to prepare. Exhale, shift the torso back. Still holding onto the thighs if you like, or releasing the hands, up to you. If you want to release the toes and just have the heels down, that's an option. Another option is to float the heels and keep the sternum lifting for the knees. So if you lift the heels and right away the torso is kind of caving backwards, drop the heels back down again and keep that sternum lifting up. Option to release the hands from here also, or toes up about knee height. And then we're just going to hold here for 2 more breaths. Lengthen inhale, flowing into lengthened exhale. And then either toes down or extend the legs long, come into canoe pose. Low boat. And then exhale, release it down. So if you have a block or a pillow handy or a rolled up towel or an extra rolled up yoga mat or a bolster, whatever you may have handy of any of those things, we're going to grab whichever one you have, place it along the center of the mat so that as you roll back down, it's going to land, your back, your spine is going to land right along the block so that the shoulder blades are just going to kind of fall over and melt over the block. And then either rest the head down on the ground. If this is too much tension on the cervical spine or the front of the neck, either or, grab a second prop to put as if you're making the letter T and rest the back of the head there. And then arms come open. Maybe the palms are open to receive the good energy as you open the heart. Lengthen inhale. Sometimes on our back extensions, our body instinctively holds the breath or breathes more shallowly up in the top part of the chest. Encourage that lengthened three-part Dirga Pranayam to come all the way down into the lower ribs, beyond the lower ribs. Now you have some options from here. If you are interested in staying in this for your full final resting pose, you can hang out right here. If you have had enough of this, you can remove the block or the prop from out from underneath you. And from there, my suggestion would be to go into gentle supine twists, just dropping the knees first over to the left and the chin to the right. If you prefer to do any other finishing pose, this is the time to do that. And then we will all meet together in our final resting pose. Doing a pose that has two sides. On an inhale, now is the time to switch that. And here's where we will inhale and all meet together in Shavasana. Classical Shavasana would be having both both legs extended long, back long along the floor, noticing this sensation of the earth literally holding you and having your back. If laying flat on your back isn't a fit for today, isn't a fit for you, you can do one side or the other in fetal position, lay on your belly, or you can come to any comfortable seated pose for your final rest. Again, still keeping that Dirga Pranayam, three-part, full inhales down to the belly. Exhale to release it all. You can do that one more time if you'd like, or eventually moving into your deepened, lengthened, organic breath. Not trying to control it, but keeping your mind focused, keeping your concentration, Vidrana, mental concentration on one point of gratitude. Ideally, or invitation to, I should say, come back to your intention, your self-worth, your self-value, what you're grateful to yourself or for yourself, or about, whatever that is, whatever you start. Or any other piece that you are grateful for about yourself. Maybe one big thing would be showed up today. Showed up for yourself. Paid attention to your body signals as you moved through different shapes. Paid attention to your breath. Gave your nervous system time to downregulate. Gave your mind time to settle and calm. Gave your breath the attention that it deserves. It is for you. Take that Svadyaya, that self-study, self-awareness moment, and focus on it. would like to stay in your final rest longer, please do so. This one was a little bit abbreviated because of the announcements at the beginning. A lengthened Shavasana is always beneficial, body, mind, and spirit, especially when you're focusing on gratitude for yourself. Otherwise, with a lengthened inhale, start to bring small movements to the fingers and toes. Shifting that energy into wrists and ankles, elbows, knees, shoulders, hips. Eventually, if it feels right, long full body stretch, reaching fingers up over the head, pulling the toes away. And then an exhale will draw you over to one side or the other if you're lying down, whichever side is calling to you. Right side tends to be a little bit more energizing, the left side a little bit more of the moon energy, grounding, calming. And push yourself up, gently, slowly to a seated position. Hands are going to come together at heart center or stay down on your legs. Finding in yourself to thank the ancients in India and Southeast Asia, discovered and developed the practice of yoga, and that they were willing and generous to share it with the rest of the globe across generations so that we could benefit today. And then one thought of gratitude for yourself. Together, exhale collectively, lowering the chin to the chest, and Om Shanti. Thank you all for you. Thank you so much for joining. Appreciate your time.